even live? Are we live? I hope we're live. I think we're live. End stream. What I mark this one as test 3. Test 3, baby. Let's check her out. Well, let's check her out. What do you think of the background? This is really weird because I cannot see. There's the comments. Okay. It says there's one of you. One of you poor saps. Let's go back to home. Let's go like this. This phone is about ready to die. It had a long day. DABL. I wish I was so popular. It would just pop up like those ones. Test number 3. I wish I was so popular. All right. Check it out. Check it out. Let's see here. Let's do this. Let's go. Hello. Not hellos. Hello. With a wave. Julio. How's it going? Hope. What do you think, man? Tony, sound is good. Awesome, man. I appreciate that. Now check this out. This is what I kind of like. I can pop up. Bam. Hopefully you can see that. All right. We can hide that one. We can show Mr. Tony. Mr. Tony. Sound is good. I'm going to have to get a little used to this whole layout if I end up using this. This is a DPW behind me. The pictures. It's pretty cool. If I can download some other neat pictures, it'd be pretty sweet to be able to do that. I think it's working. And hopefully what I need is I'm going to need somebody at some point. I need somebody to go off that can do streaming too. Because this one, supposedly I can do multi. So what do I got to do? I got to click Mr. Tony off so he's not up there the whole time. Sweet. I might have to try it out sometime. I'm just playing around. So I really don't have nothing. Unless somebody gives me a question. Tony's got a lot of them. I know that wire thing you showed me, Tony. I think you got to connect it on both ends, right? You can use any kind of wire, I'm assuming. I was thinking that thing would come in actually handy on a temporary line I'm putting in the ground so I could detect it. There was a fence guy that I was watching. He had a nice little kit. Man, it's like so weird. I don't know where to look. When you're not using your phone, you got a camera, and his was a pretty sweet setup. It was a nice little case and everything. But it sounds like you obviously got to connect to both ends, and that's how you got to get a reader also. I don't know if yours was that advanced, what yours showed me. I think it was from Menards. Those are pretty quick or pretty sweet tools you got there. That's for sure. Those are nice, man. All that kind of stuff helps a lot. Okay, so this is weird. So it shows 4 on the phone, but it shows 1 on here. So what is up with that? And I can post a comment. Let's see if I can do this. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. There, happy Sunday. There you go. It's hard to believe Easter's next weekend. It's hard to believe. It goes by so fast. Before we know it, we're going to be cutting grass. There you go. Sound is good. Like I said, this is let's see, it says top. Oh, and Tony's got the information. Oh, yeah, he's got a nice little kit and everything. Nice. Huh. Is it Julio? Julio, what's Julio up to? I don't know if I know where Julio's at. I could be saying it wrong. I really apologize. I'm horrible with names. Maybe. I love it. It says it's always when it's nice. Wonder how much that ran. Cost wise, Tony. How much money does it cost? So what else options do I have here? It says I got banners. This is an example. Click on a banner to show in the screen. I want to hit the plus. This is an example. Oh, okay. So let's do, I'm going to edit it. This is an example. Okay. All right, let's try this out. Like I said, I got to get a little familiar with this. Welcome. Okay. Let's hit save. And now we show it. So now I got rid of that. And now it says welcome. Okay. Use a banner to summarize your talking points. All right. I'm going to put show. Yes. So what is this one? I'll go back to edit. Create a banner. How do you create a banner? Enter a banner. Interesting. 2 comments, I think. That's what it's trying to tell me. Excuse me. New Jersey? What's the weather like over there? Got snow, cold, raining? J State. I'm gonna guess it was around 50 to 75. Oh yeah, that's nothing. That's not bad at all. This is official. Let's see here. This is Julio. StreamYard is cool. I'm glad you like it. Like I said, I have no idea what I'm doing, so I'm just kind of playing around with it. NJ, let's see here. State, no snow. It's a high of 50. Oh man, we're hitting tomorrow. I think it's supposed to be windy though. It's supposed to be like 30 degrees. I think we're getting around, I heard about 50, 56, 59. They're talking, we might hit 60. Might. And we got just a light dust of snow left. We got about 3 inches. What was that, Friday? Was that Friday when we got whammed? Yeah, it was Friday. Most of it's melted except in the shaded areas, the trees. Does Julio, do you do garage doors? I don't really think I know much on you. I apologize. You do garage doors? You do your own business? You work for a company? Give me a little history here. Jersey image. New Jersey. Let's see here. What's it like to live in New Jersey? I want to see what New Jersey, man. Nope. Can't say I've ever been there. I think the farthest east I have been is I've been in Ohio, Virginia. Don't know if I've been in Pennsylvania. Definitely not New York or Maine. Been in Kentucky, been in Tennessee, Georgia. You gotta go to Georgia and you gotta go to Florida. All right. So he says, I'm running a company with my dad. Awesome. Awesome. Garage doors and dock levelers, 100% commercial work. Ooh, 100% commercial work. Nice. Nice. I'm running. Okay. So you're kind of like, kind of like my competition. Not, they're not really, we just, I don't know. We don't even cross paths, but they cater to like, so like, like I'm always explaining to some people, I can't figure out which finger to use here. Like this kind of garage door right here. These are nice for like, if you're not doing, this situation behind me actually is really nice if you're trying to deal with, um, not trying to do docs, right? Because that's where we kind of have that conflict where like Julio would have, he's like he can come in there and he can be like, I can do all this for you. I can take basically the whole back end of your building. I can take care of. Do you do if you're doing dock plates, do you also do because it said right doors and dock level? Do you do the I don't know what the actual term is for it, is the cushions, the seals, that go around the door, the header, and that when the semi backs into, because those are obviously always getting ripped and always getting ripped off the building. So do you do those dock seals is what I don't know what the terminology is. I'm just curious because I could never find really a good vendor on it. We what was it? I think we were getting through like Granger. Granger's pretty expensive. So you kind of got to watch you got to get in with somebody basically is what dock seals. Yes. It's weird. This number doesn't climb on here. That's one thing I'm noticing. It just shows one. Okay. So yes, do dock seals. Okay. Is there a certain brand? I thought Kelly was a big one that's around here. Tony does dock seals too? Shoot, man. No wonder you guys got all the money. Dang. You guys ever feel like that's conflicting? Like I just like like Tony, like how are you doing docs? I'm just curious. I'm not trying to be like insulting or anything. I'm just like, how are you doing it? Because to me, the guys that work here up here that do it, they actually have like a box truck and then they have like a crane inside the box truck when they open up their back door, a rolling back door. Sectional. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's just, it's like a regular, like a semi truck, but it's just a little box truck and then open up the back door and they got like a boom that'll come out and like pick that thing up. We always had to use, we had to steal the forklifts when we were doing the springs on those bad boys. So I just wondered, okay, in a trailer. Hmm. Oh, so I should, well, actually, because you said you do dock seals, but you're not working, Tony, you're not working on the dock plates, are you? Um, because to me, that's like a whole different animal. Like Julio, he should message me or he should text me or email me some pictures of what he's got set up. And I won't share them unless, I always ask for permission. I'm not just going to randomly show people stuff unless it's totally neutral. Nobody could ever tell who it is, but I still don't want to do that unless I know it's okay with you. It says I'll do brush seals, limited stuff on plates. Yeah, plates are like, I don't know, man. They're just I don't know. It's just something it feels like it's really hard to get guys trained on it and safety and I mean you're basically it's like you're in a coffin, working on it. You got to almost have like a jumpsuit, you know what I mean, to put on so you don't get just super nasty. Um and then those seals, I've had them before where I never found like a super good solution for them, but they'll let in like the leak air into them. And so people want like the bristles and stuff like that. And you can do that. But when they got the aluminum extrusion on them, whatever, that stuff gets expensive. Um, And then how long does it last? So you put it on, and then it's like they rip it off in like 2 months, and they're like, you know, and then that steel, like if you want to try to screw it in, like when you deal with dock plates, um, Julio would probably know. I mean, it's like everything seems like it's got to be welded. Like you got to be a welder, man. So to me, it's you got to have some kind of, you know, crane set up so you can lift the dock up. Cause, you know, for us, it was like we'd always have to steal somebody's forklift, and they'd always be like, well, how long? And I'm like, I don't know how long, like as long as it takes to fix it. And, and then um, you got to have a welder, and it seems like you have to have a pretty bad mamma jamba for a welder, because the guys have tried with like a 110 before. It didn't work so well. You got to at least go 220. A lot of guys I've noticed, I've struggled. I've gotten a lot better now with stick welding, but there's just it's such a different art to it. You know, you gotta clean the surface. You gotta everything's like preparation when it comes to welding, right? You gotta be comfortable. You gotta have the mask. You gotta be, you know, so you're not burning your arms with slag and stuff. Um, Says yes, we do, Doc. It's weird when I click on it. It wants to show you, like if I hover over you, which is normally how I keep track of where I'm at. So like it shows, oh, it says Tony. It says right there. Now I can hide Tony. So Tony, I think if you said do it off a scissor lift in a trailer, are you talking about like when the trailer, like when it's strapped down to the trailer? I mean, I've moved scissor lift around on that stuff before, but you can't move. It's kind of a pain. I'm trying to think, because normally it's slanted. Like, how do you drive around with the scissor lift on the trailer? I've done them strapped, but I've never gotten brave enough to really move around much on it, because I've always had small trailers for the scissor lift. I'm going to try something. Let me try something for this live stream. It shows up on the other one. I want to see if I give myself some hearts, how does it work? Does it show up on this stream at all? Heck no, I don't see nothing. Wait, I didn't do it right. Did I do it right? I do it right. Boom, hit it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So Julio, how old is Julio? If Julio's still here. I'm just curious. How old's your dad? If you don't mind me asking. Dude, off scissor lift. I do brush seals. Limited stuff on plates. What's up, Mr. Rich B? But what's the guy here? Dude, limited. If I could weld it, wouldn't be that bad. If I could weld it, yes. Okay. You don't have to move that much. Nice. So Tony, where do you get yours? Where are you getting your dock seal from? If you're doing the outsides, you know, that big cushion, man. I did a couple, man, and I just hated them. Like, you know, you go to screw into the building, there's like nothing to screw into. One of my customers had just a huge building, and they ended up, whoever the previous installer, they built these, like little shelters on them. So the ice that came off the building would like shed, and the building was about 10, 15 years old, and all of them were collapsing. Like they used, almost like a clear plexiglass or whatever on the top. Well, all that stuff was going bad, and all the wood structure was bad. And he was like, is this something you can do? And I'm just like, nope, I cannot, because there's way too many. And I'm not a framer. Like, I mean, whoever built these things was an engineer. You know, could I do it? Yes. But would you like my price tag? Probably not. And do I want to spend all summer here? Not really. You need to get somebody and then deal with all the semi trucks, and they're so busy there. I mean, the trucks are in and out. They got, I don't know, I think I want to say it's like 30 or 40 doors on the wall. If you contract DLM, they offer classes at their facility where they teach you about their plates. Nice. Oh, sweet. 4267. Nice, man. It's the only thing I worry about, like if you go to some of the classes, like for us, I can't remember what brand they were. We had a brand that we were working on for this company. They were so old. I literally had to have service spring, and I was so nervous about it. So what I would do is I would send the springs in to Service Spring to actually they were basically mm, they weren't a stock spring, so they were making them custom springs. And see if that gets rid of that. But they were making it, so I'd send it into them, and then I had to wait. And then once they had it figured out, I could order them. Um, but there's like so many different brands and on those dock plates, for different hydraulics and motors, and some are electric and some are hydraulic to some are, um, and maybe it's just the place, our location, like we're in, how do we're kind of like in trashy Muskegon. So it's kind of like people, I mean, they're pits. Like I said, they're really dirty. People don't maintain them. It's like one of those things when they're broke. And it's like you get there and the welds are, and then it's like you almost look at it and you go, it needs to be replaced. And then it's like, I'm sure it's not rocket science, you know what I mean? Like, where do you order these things from? You know what I mean? And then you got to go, you got to bid it. You got a little bit of competition around here. I'm sure it's not bad because there's probably not as many people that do it. And for Julio, if he can cater to that whole end of the building. Um, that's nice for the customer. It's weird because see, like the company that does it around here, I think their moneymaker is forklifts. They sell, I mean, you've probably heard of them. I think it's Cisco, and they sell magazines, they do a whole bunch of repairs, right? And it was like then they bought a door company. The door company was kind of like a write-off. It was for like the third brother. And so I don't know. They're kind of unique. Let's just say I have a F350 with a welder machine on top of the cabin. Nice. Nice. If you ever get a chance, Julio, send me some pictures of it. I think it'd be pretty cool to see. I always like seeing people set up. If you ain't got my number, I'll give you my number. But just take some few pictures of it. It'd be pretty cool. I still don't think I'm going to ever get into it. I don't think so. I think it's like you got to have big boy pants for that stuff. You know what I mean? And it's really tough if you got employees. I bet I don't know. Obviously, Julie, do you have any employees, or are you just kind of you and your dad? Because if that's the case, it's a lot easier. I mean, you kind of are on the same page, but when you get employees, it's hard to get employees to transition all the time, well, you're a welder, no, I'm not a welder. I'm a door installer. Well, and that's sometimes where it can be a little bit, so like the company around here, what they do is they actually got their dock plate guys, which is like Cisco or whatever. And then they got the overhead door guys. They're a totally different company. So, and then they got their forklift guys that repair them and service them or sell them or whatever. That's a totally another company. So it's kind of like three different companies. You kind of got your dock guys, you got your garage door guys, and then you got a forklift guy. And it was kind of funny on a story one time. I remember, how you kind of become friends and with certain people. Well, one of them was the forklift guy, and I just see him around, and we just kind of kicked it off one day, and we always just shoot the crap when we see each other at the commercial buildings. And all of a sudden, it was maybe 3 months, 6 months later, I get a phone call from him, and he's like, "Hey," he's like, "I need help," and I'm like with what? Like, you do forklifts? Like, what am I? And he goes, "Well, I'm over here working on a gate, at this one company." And we did some work there too. And it was kind of real hit and miss, not all the time. And so I said, okay, no, not a problem. I jumped in the old service van and I drove over there, and he's by this gate operator, and his name was Bob. He's a cool dude. I hope I see him again soon. And I'm like, I said, Bob, I said, what the hell are you doing? I said, why are you working on a gate operator? He goes, well, he goes, here's the thing, man. He goes, we kind of screwed up with some forklifts. You know, this customer, they're kind of not real happy with us. The other company was out here and they both kind of told them to fly a kite. Well, that really ticked them off. So now they're threatening us, you know, to get rid of the forklifts, you know, and he's like, so I'm just here trying to butter up, man. And I'm like, I'm looking at these things. And I told him, I said, dude, I said, I've already looked at these. I said, like a year ago. And I told them, I said, all we can do is replace them. And what it was, they were blocking off a railroad track. So they had a gate on both sides because the gates were supposed to be closed per contract with the railroad company because they just didn't want regular people driving over them, but they could use it for the factory for forklifts and stuff. And this thing was just a nightmare. You know, there's wires going underneath the train tracks and, you know, who knows who did what. But I just thought it was funny how, you know, this guy that does forklifts is calling me and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm trying not to lose this contract. And part of me was like, well, I want you to lose this contract because I obviously then we get to do more garage doors, but I you know, there's plenty to go around. So I'm not that type of guy, but I just thought, you know, it's like, why are you doing this? I got most of my dock parts from, was there more? All it showed me was this. Oh, I got most of my dock plates from, oh, so are you saying you got them from, boom, let's see if I can show this one. The DLM. Is that what I'm guessing you're going at? Bam. Let's hide that puppy. Where are they located out of? Where's DLM? You know what state they're out of? Just curious. We kind of did it with a customer because we were good with the customer, and the customer, like, they just would always, this lady would flood us with money. I got most of the parts from, so they would they would just give us, it was like, whatever you want, go ahead and do it. And then finally, when I started leaning off of them, I remember the lady I was running the place, she was begging me to come back, you know. Well, then she must have kind of got in with one of my employees in a sense, you know, and he was like, hey man, I can do it. And I'm like, no, you can't. And he's like, yeah, I can do it. And I'm like, no, you can't. I'm like, there's just too much liability. I was like, we're not set up for it. I was like, we're spending way too much time because our vehicles aren't set up with welders. So every time you need to go there, you got to come back to the shop. You got to load up a generator. You got to load up the welder. You got to load up a acetylene tank. I was like, this is not a viable option. You know what I mean? Like, this is no good. It's just too much, you know. And the problem was this facility, the forklift drivers were, I swear, all on drugs, and they just were doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And, you know how, like, you watch people drive over dock plates? I mean, they're just going so fast. It's just kapow, kapow. And I mean, you're watching all the bolts and the concrete was getting bad. So there was another company that was kind of in competition. Like, they would work on them, but that's not really their thing. They were more of concrete guys. And I basically was like, you know what, just let them do it. Like, just let them, they got big boy stuff. I mean, they're big concrete workers, man. They're big brutes. Let them have it. So we finally weaned off of it. And then we had another customer not too long ago. I remember, I think the guys went out there and they ended up, what they do, they welded something, and it didn't hold up. And it was because, you know, they used basically a little 110 welder. And so I had to go back. And of course, the customer acted a little bit, you know, a little bit bitter about it, which I get. And or does he says he mean DDM Doors in West Chicago? I'm not sure on that, Rich. He was saying something about you know, the dock plates. I believe we were talking about dock seals around the outside where the semis, the cushions and stuff. And like I said, when I did the cushions, it was you kind of like seen who else installed it, and like sometimes they bolt it and they wash her. They went right to the sheet metal and everything's just like tin canish, clunk, clunk, clunk. And it's like, you're trying to square stuff up. It just, I didn't see a lot of room for error in it as much. I mean, I know it's a cushion. Um, but I just thought, man, I don't want to install this thing. This thing falls off in like 2 months and they're calling me back for a cushion. So I kind of felt like I just bowed out. I was like, this is just not us. We got too many irons in the fire. I mean, it's kind of like when you're dealing with, I mean, you think of it, I was dealing with automatic sliding doors for like a grocery store. We were doing man doors. And then what else? We're doing the gates, little bit of fencing, and then we're also doing the garage doors. It just starts, something's eventually got to start going because you just can't carry all that stuff on your vehicle and be efficient. It seems like, unless you got like trailers you can hook up to and they're designated, kind of like what we do for, like we got like a fence trailer that we'll typically bring that's got all our fittings and stuff like that, which works out real nice. Um, but sometimes you can be too diversified. You almost got to kind of figure out what's your niche and what do you make money at, and what's local and close, and um, sometimes you can just see spread out too thin, and it's what's that saying? Give a man a small job, he'll do a good job. Give a man many jobs, and he'll do a bad job. And that's kind of what it was turning out to be. Is for us, is it's just too many. Put a band-aid on this, put a band-aid on this, put a band-aid on this, and it's like you're it's like, no, we need to spend time with these certain customers or certain jobs. I still can't believe Tanner was getting a delivery today. That's what he told me on one of the other chats. That's amazing. I was going to ask him. I wonder if they come up this way. Was it North Central door or something like that? Huh. I just thought that's like, I was wondering if he wanted that or if they just kind of offer that, or like, we'll just, or is it just I think it sounds like they do it quite often. They'll deliver on a Sunday, which is not, I'm not saying it's just nice to have options, so it's just kind of interesting. Paying promo. What do you mean paying promo? Somebody's shutting me down because I didn't pay my bill. Electric bill, paying promo. What do you mean? Oh, so Julio says, it's just, all right. My dad and me have been searching for assistance for years. I know that feeling. But haven't found anyone who can handle all the tasks. Exta? Found anyone who can handle all the tasks. And when I do find someone, they expect to be paid. Yeah. It's tough, man. It's tough, like I said, maybe it's one of those things, I mean, I don't have the miracle solution, but I think, if you could find, probably a younger lad that has been punished with the system for a while. He's been in a factory. He's got his wings clipped a little bit, and he knows, hey man, I don't want to be, in this factory, or I don't want to work at, the produce section of the grocery store anymore, third shift, and maybe if it's like, you could tell him, say, if he's already got a truck, and you could start guiding him, and saying, look, hey, I'll teach you. What I would do though is I would only focus on one thing. I wouldn't try to multitask it. Cause I think that's where things can get really, I've seen like I've gotten a lot of flack on that from guys, where it's almost, I don't know how to explain it. It's just, some people just have it wired in them that they're just not, it's like, sometimes we have a hard time with even like residential to commercial. Some guys just that transition, like they just it's a totally different atmosphere because typically in residential, to some degree, you're kind of you rush, you're kind of in and out, you're not there very long. You say hi to Fluffy. It's kind of a fun adventure in a sense for some of those people. They like going into another neighborhood. They like the kids playing down the street, the pool splash in the back. You know, kind of the drama. And I don't, and then it's like when they go to commercial, it's almost like they get overwhelmed. You know what I mean? Like they're just like, oh my gosh, like we're going to be here for 2 days, and it's like, yeah, and I personally like commercial. I like that because I like when I have options because I know when I install a door, if something's missing, I can pull it from another door if it's multiple doors there. And then the next day I know I gotta re-bring it, restock or whatever. And then I can also, I like it because, I know what I'm doing the next day. You know what I mean? I know the atmosphere. Um, where when you go to Resi's, it's like you can have the vehicle, always all loaded up, right? It seems like, and then you get there and you're like, oh, this thing needs an 18-foot shaft. I only got a 16. Son of What's the odds? Well, let me you come up with a solution on the spot. Extra. Extra, extra. Oh, pain extra. Locations is okay. Okay. So it's Wisconsin. Good old Wisconsin. Across the lake. Germantown, Wisconsin. Nice. Nice. That's awesome. That's pretty cool. Excuse me. Rich is throwing all kinds of things in here. Now he's got cost. Cost of what, Rich? Excuse me. No, I think I heard this electrician around here too. Um, he was talking about hiring like a kid out of like high school in a sense, so you can kind of mold them. And I think there's something to that to some degree. If you could, I basically turn them into maybe a sub if you could, or if you have enough work, you could obviously keep them, but then it's another vehicle, it's more tools, it's things come up missing, you got to pay them all the time. Where if you could at least start eliminating and just getting one door off your plate, or if it was, you think they eventually turn into doing dock plates, um, time will tell on that. It's really weird because you got to be, it's like you're driving a school bus and you got to figure out where the kids sit, right? Maybe the naughty kids need to come up front. The better kids can go out back, the mediocre kids, whatever in the middle. It's weird when you're doing business, that's why you're an entrepreneur, because you need to find where these people fit. And, it's tough. It's super tough. And it's not getting any easier. Oh, cost. Extra cost for delivery on Sunday. I don't know, Rich. I don't know. Only Tanner. I'll have to ask Tanner. He's the only one that can answer that. He just made it sound like they do it. And he said it's kind of like it's good. He said, unless you got plans. So to me, that kind of sounded like, they just do it, or they're kind of signed up for it in a sense. I'm assuming, depending on how the route is, it might work better. My buddy down the road, he used to, at the shop there, he used to get deliveries on the weekends. Right. So yeah, Tony says Tanner's probably the first drop. So like I said, I'll when I talk to Tanner again, I'll ask him. I know, what was it? I was telling him, I said, man, I said, it always worked good. I said, it was real religious, but like, before the cough syndrome went around, uh, Wayne Dalton, they always delivered. It was like Thursday, 8 o'clock, sometimes seven, but normally between like 7 and 8, maybe once in a while, like 9 o'clock. I tell you what, if you can get morning deliveries, oh man. I mean, once we started dealing with other manufacturers and, they'll come at like 1, 2 o'clock. Some of them won't call you. It's a nightmare. The mornings, I love the mornings because the guys are there. The guys are fresh. Everybody's fresh in the morning. They got their coffee going. They got, they're in a chipper mood for the most part. And it's like, hey, truck's here. We got to unload the truck. And so you got that manpower where it seems like when they come in the middle of the day, it's always somebody gets screwed. You know what I mean? It's been myself, it's been Cap. If it's a huge load, then obviously we'll pull somebody and get like, so there's two guys there. But it's just nice, when you got, 3 or 4 guys there already. Somebody can go up, help the guy in the truck, and then you got a couple guys on the ground, just to huff the stuff in the garage, which works really nice. Dun, dun, dun. Dun. Let's see here. Probably the first drop. Like I said, I don't know if it's extra or not. I just thought, man, I never heard of anybody getting delivery on Sunday, which, like I said, it is what it is. It's not like it's going to, if I'm around, heck, I'd do it, gets it out of the way. It leaves more. It's kind of weird because as you kind of get, at least for myself, as I've gotten into the business more and more, I'm kind of a guy that I'm like, I'd rather work after hours and I'd rather work weekends. And the reason being is because during the work days, I want that open, right? I want to be able to deal with accounts. I want to deal with the bankers. I want to be able to deal with just whatever, all the things that are open, the courts. I mean, for me, that's just how I am because I only got a certain amount of window, right? I only got 8 to 5. And that was kind of what I ran into with business. As the business picked up, the second kind of go around, I couldn't service these people. I was doing everything I could, but I when it gets to be 6, 8 o'clock at night, they're the companies, at least the commercial companies, they're closed, so I try to switch it to residential, be later. It was a lot of work, so then I had to bring my business partner back. So that was always fun, you know what I mean? Because now we're expanding. But it's tough, man. It's really tough. I've had a lot of what's weird too is I don't think I've had anybody that's older than me that was better than me. That's bad. You know what I mean? Like and I'm not like I know you guys watching. Some of you guys you're rock stars. But what I'm saying is like for instance, my buddy that passed away, he told me he was in the door business. He said if the way he kind of always said it was like if they're that good, they'll do it themselves. And what I found out was the guys that had a lot of experience when I was younger, that was older than me, it was like they were almost like riffraff, right? They were just drifters. You know what I mean? They just did all kinds of crazy stuff. And probably some of the younger guys that have learned our, work ethics, our, what we expect, how we treat each other, they've done really good. You know what I mean? But like I said, to me, I almost really don't even care about experience. It's more the attitude, the willingness to try, not give up, not be a big, whatever, smoking on the job type stuff, cussing and swearing, tempers is really big. So if you can get, the attitude, because that's like stuff that's like, that was from their mommy and daddy, right? Or their upbringing. I I can't go back. And that's just years and years and years. And unless they want to change or want to learn, which typically is very, very slim, um, I can't work on that. You know what I mean? Like I already have enough problems. Just, I need you to show up on time and you're showing up a minute before the clock, but I'm here, I'm on time. No, dude, like I didn't think you were going to make it. Like try to show up 5 or 10 minutes early. You know what I mean? Well, I don't know why. I mean, I still made it on time. Okay, genius. All right, you got to be here at 7:45. How about that? Huh? How about that? I mean, like, how do you want to play these games? I mean, it's like when I changed the whole payroll structure over to Wednesday because I got so sick of guys on Fridays, and they come to me Monday and they'd be like, "Hey, man, I need some money." I'm like, "How do you need money? Like, you just got paid Friday. What'd you do all weekend?" "Well, I was at the bar and I seen this girl and yeah, we went up to the casino and I need a hot water tank." Okay. So what do? Use a truck? "Well, not really. I'm $80 short." Oh my gosh. What are you doing? And you live in a trailer park with your mom. Come on, man. People do some weird stuff. They do some weird stuff. Oh, this is what I wanted to check. So it shows that stream band. All right, let's try this. Dun, 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 dun. There we go. So true. So true, man. It's probably. Yeah, there's people, like I said, when it comes to employees, it's super duper, ooper, duper tough. Like I said, and I don't know what is the perfect solution for it when it comes down to it. It's like if you could be somebody's coach, if you could be somebody's guidance, if you could be somebody's mentor, and possibly slowly, it's going to be a very, very, very slow process unless you just, like Julio said, you just pay the $80 and more than likely you're still not going to get, I've had a lot of guys that come in that do the whole, right at the start time. You're late. Me thinking is if they're right at the start time, you're late. Oh man, that's right. Says Tony says, "Yeah, Daddy Dave, you got the money." Right. Yeah. I I still remember when the one guy came up and he asked for an advancement, and I should have known right there this was going to be a problem. And I remember he came up and he's like, "Hey man, I just came up. I think he's coming up from Georgia." And and I get it. I was like, "Hey, he's moving. I mean, he's got a lot of stuff moving around." And he's like, "Hey man, can I get my paycheck like ahead of, time?" And I'm like, "All right, not a problem." So I go to the secretary and, get it so it's approved, and already get flack on it. Like, really? And I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine. It's just gonna be one time." Well, then it started turning into like a second and then a third. And he was the guy that came in one day. I remember, and he wants to, here's the thing, it's one of those things. Like if I was known for not paying you, like I would expect this from him. But when he comes bolting in the driveway and he just gets out of that truck, right? He had a little Ford Escort or something, whatever. Escape. I think it was Escape. Slams the door on it, right? And he didn't park in his normal spot. And I mean, he just comes walking up. I'm doing something in one of the trucks, something loading up, whatever. And he's got this, "I got a problem." And I'm like, "Yeah, I got a lot of problems too." And I'm like, "So what's that?" And he goes, "Yeah, that new debit card, whatever you gave us, because we were just switching over to a new banking system, and then it would he wanted it so it put it on a card instead of just being in his bank account, direct deposit." He's like, "Doesn't work." And I'm like, "Okay." And he goes, "So I guess I'm not working today." I mean, just flat out like that. And I was, and it's one of those things. If I had 5 more guys, I would have been like, "Don't work today and don't work for the rest of the year and don't ever come back. Bye." And anyways, he's just got this bad attitude. So I'm like, I don't know which way he's going to go with it. Right. I'm just like, what? Okay. Like, if you need to leave, I guess, like, I'm like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And I'm like, and I even told him, I said, look, I said, it's not like I've never paid you. I said, I'm sure there's a glitch or something going on. Well, I don't know, but this is bull crap. Well, anyways, later in the day comes, like, I see the secretary. The secretary tells me that, she goes, actually, he's the one that set up the temporary pin, and he was entering the wrong pin when he was doing it. So it was his own fault. And he went to the gas station and he couldn't get a pop and some chips or something. So come to find out later, it's all good. He just entered the wrong pin. So she had to tell him that. And of course, does he, come to apologize or say, hey man, I screwed up, or I should have known, man, no, you know what I mean? And it's like, dude, I had this guy try to start a fight with my foreman one time. I mean, I thought this was going to get real because they're both pretty burly dudes, and they're both kind of scrappers. Like, I think both of them were in prison at one time, and I'm like, I can't lose my foreman, man. Like, so I'm like holding him back. I'm like, don't do it, don't do it. It's not worth it. Another guy's like, come on out here. He's standing like in this, right here, this garage door area. My foreman, and little man is out here threatening him, going, come on, man. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, no, 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 don't do it. Don't do it. Like, I don't want the cops here. I don't need this attention. I don't need this in my life. I mean, this is child's play. This is kids crap, man. You're adults. You're older than me, and you guys are doing this crap. And it wasn't even over something legit. You know what I mean? It was like, I'm all about a parking lot fight if it's over something that's like, well, you deserve a butt whooping on that. But this was over something the stupidest thing. And yeah, it was just people, man. Ryan says, look, I can show Ryan now. I can embarrass him. I hope I'm not embarrassing him, but there you go. You are a sharp business owner. Glad I found the channel. That's awesome. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. I hope I can help somebody out there. Who were we talking about? Was it Jason or Justin yesterday? I was thinking about him. I thought, I'll go down there. I'll give him a help with a garage door on a resi if he needs it. Like I said, I've just got a lot of experience is the problem, because I buried really hard into the business, and I found out there's a lot of blowback. You know what I mean? You can do a lot of things, and it just, I mean, I've tried loading people's vehicles for them, and they come the next day and they're like, why'd you load my van? Well, I don't know. I was trying to be nice, just trying to get the day off to a good start, trying to, and then it's like they'll leave with the van. Right. And then it was my fault even, probably. I forgot to put weather seal on. Probably the phone was ringing, or somebody showed up and I started yakking with them. And then it was like, they come back, or I'd get the phone call and it turns in, hey, you forgot the weather seal. And I'm like, okay, well, here's the thing, you can check the truck too. That's your truck, your load. And so then I started doing like I called it like a crew chief, because I used to have to do it when I worked in an oil change. When you put in the drain plug, you actually have to have somebody else. So you'd have to yell crew chief, and somebody else would have to come verify that the plug, and they normally would twist on the oil filter to make sure it was good. So I started doing the same thing. I made a list, and then I had everything that was on there. I'd go through the list just to remind myself, because it's just, you can't beat a list. As many years as I've been doing it, I still, it's like, you don't check for the drums, you don't check for the cables, you don't check for the rollers, you don't check for slide brackets or slide locks, foot pegs, rope, certain little things like that will just kill you. You know what I mean? And sometimes those guys just don't have on their truck. They used the last one yesterday because they did a service call, and they needed one, and they didn't restock their vehicle. So I made that checklist, and I'd go through it, and then I'd make them go through it. And then I think they had to sign it. I sign it. And that went with the paperwork of some degree. I don't know if they had a copy, or I kept that one in the office. I can't remember. I think I kept it in the office. So that way, if they called, I could also say, hey, well, here's the thing, Johnny, obviously one of us was lying. We both checked it off. So I don't understand what was going on here. How do we both miss a slide lock? And that's why it was really tough. I know there is vendors out there. I get some feedback from the guys. about uh hey, this company does this or that company does that. And for us, just the ones that we deal with the most, they just you got to kind of special order that, which the secretary does a phenomenal job on that, to make sure all that stuff's there. But I always wanted everything. Like I want my hardware box. I want the rope. I want a side lock. I want foot pegs in there. I want handles, on the inside to pull the door down. I want those, even if they're not going to use them, I want them to be there. That way, I can always have the installers like, look, this is how I do it. Like I feed the ropes. I don't know how some of you guys do it, but I'll feed the ropes to the hinges and I'll tie it off, because I've been burned on it before. So what I do is I'll do that. And that way, if the power goes out and the customer calls and they're like, oh my gosh, last night we had a stabbing next door, the guy got murdered and I want to close my door and I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, see, there's a rope. Yeah. What do I, get the rope off, get the rope to hang. There's a slide lock on there. Cause I mean, you know how it is. You try to tell people even how to use a slide lock, or not slide lock. You try to use a pair of vice grips and they're like, what's a pair of vice grips? I don't think I got any vice grips. I don't got no tools here. I mean, they find every excuse. And you're like, well, you can put like a piece of metal through there and stuff. Where, instead it's take out the bolt. Don't forget to put the bolt in. I always, and this is why you should also take pictures, which I'm not always the best, but I do try, you try to take pictures of the overall. So that way you could send it as documentation to the customer. Cause sometimes you know how it is. They throw that side lock in and they hit the button afterwards. I've seen that happen. And there goes the top panel or something. Now, I never had anybody try to go after me and say this was your fault or anything, because I always put a bolt in it. But I've had them where they did it themselves. So I think it was an older couple. I remember the one, and he just flat out said, yeah, he goes, well, the power went out. I shut the door. I locked it. I should have known. He says the power went back on and I just hit the button. Wasn't even thinking. One aspect kind of good for us. We got a little bit of work out of it. It's not the kind of work I really want. But it's kind of like, sorry, what are you going to do? I mean, you can't fix stupid, and everybody makes mistakes, even including myself. So it just, it's tough. It is tough. And then when you try to educate your workers to do that kind of stuff, it is. So that's why, like for Julio, he's right up in that age. He's just a touch older than me. I think we're kind of at that perfect age in a sense, honestly, because we can find, you can find the 20-year-olds, you can find the 30-year-olds, or you can even go younger. Tony says, I want to put a slide lock on if there's no operator for that reason. Is that, I would totally, I used to be the same way. I really was, but, I don't know if it's kind of a Michigander type thing, but I tell you what, I've had phone calls, and the problem was we were doing them through, the one I got burned on. I remember very, very vividly was we were installing for Lowe's. And so we did this one door. There was two doors there. It was a detached garage. It was kind of like at a cottage. So there's the house and there's like the water, lake. And then the building was facing to the road, two doors. And I think he took out wood doors. And so I remember my installer guy, he went up there. He was actually a really good installer. He goes up there and he installs everything. He comes back appropriate time. Everything seems right. I think it was about a day or two later, we get a phone call through Lowe's, and see, now Lowe's like automatically included that. Wayne Dalton might've did it at the time. I don't know who did it, but they already included that stuff. They already included side locks. And so anyways, we got like a warranty call going on, and they said, hey, this guy's complaining that you guys didn't put the slide locks on. And I'm like, huh? And I'm like, well, I'm like, he has garage door openers. I'm like, so I don't really. And she's like, well, here's the thing. She's like, they were provided. He paid for them. And I don't know if obviously he paid extra or not. I think they were just there, I think. And she goes, he had them on his old garage door, and he wants them because they have a lot of power outages. And I'm like, okay, well, so then I had to tell my guy, I was like, dude, I was like, you put the slide locks, and he's like, no, he's like, why would there's openers on it? I'm like, well, here's the thing, man. I'm like, you're gonna have to go back up. And now this was, so it was about an hour and 15 minutes one way from our shop. So now, I mean, he's already got, 2.5, 3 hours wrapped up now going back to this job. And I noticed on a lot of those slide locks now, they used to never have them. Now they got the bolt. So I just put them on. I put them on like as a kit. I put foot pegs on there. I put slide lock on there. I run the rope through the hinges because it'll run with the door and not get tangled up. And I learned that from another installer. And then what I'll do is I'll put the handles on right in that kind of the sweet spot, I think, where you got to kind of pull the door, put your foot on the peg and push the door down and get the slide lock in. And that way it's just, and like I said, I didn't get a lot, but I got quite a few over the years, probably a little bit, maybe as many fingers as I have, or maybe a touch more, that people wanted slide locks. And I'm like, are you serious? So my warranty, or my insurance, I guess, in a sense, what I would do is I'd make sure I put that bolt in. That was the key, because I know how it is. People have kids, they have grandkids, they have dogs, whatever. The wife leans over and some reason she shoves that lock, whatever. But I always liked it to be there as to save me on a Friday, because I mean, I tell you what, I got burned for so many years. 5 o'clock on a Friday, man. I tell you, that was always, I even had a commercial guy. He was called Red Dog. That was his nickname, Red Dog. And he'd call me up and he'd be like, Dave, he's like, it's Red Dog. He's like, you know what day it is? And I'm like, oh my gosh, really, dude? I'm like, it's 3:30. Yeah, well, they smoked the door and we need you to come over. I'm like, blah, and so I'd go over there and it seemed like Friday at 5 o'clock, man. I remember going to a guy one time. This was like a cabin. Guy was coming, I think he's from Chicago or something. I go up there, I'm working my butt off, and he's like, yeah, he finally tells me, he's like, I knew about this for 2 weeks. And I'm like, you knew about this for 2 weeks and you kind of like wrecked my Friday that I got to be up here. You were kind of, kind of screaming in a sense, like, I really need to get somebody up here because I got to get my lawnmower out, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, and you knew about this for 2 weeks. And so now you wait till a holiday weekend. And here I am. And I'm like, this should be extra. This should be another $10, $20, $30 on top of your bill. So like I said, the one that was an hour and 15, he really burned me with the whole, and he was an old codger, old man, and he was set in his ways, and that's fine. I'm probably going to be the same way when I get older. So I just started telling the guys all the time. I said, look, install it all. I said, we want it. I said, just, it's there. It's there. Lock it. Make sure you put a bolt in it. I'm with Tony. Like I said, I get it. I gave him the asshole price. I had a lot of guys that so that should have been the cost, man. I mean, I just did way too many times, and it is just people, man. I tell you what, that's why sometimes I'm always, it's like the Holland ones. Yeah, that's right. The Chicago. We got quite a few Chicago people that have cottages, and they can be a different animal. There's no doubt about it. Um, I'd like to say, oh, they're the most sweetest, this and that, but man, I tell you what, they come up in this area and they drive like real jerks. And they have that whole attitude of just, I want it now. And, I want it my way and I want it now. And, sometimes if you don't catch on to that, it's really hard because until you kind of get experience, it's tough. And especially if you're just starting out, or if you're in a kind of in a nutshell, you're desperate. And, I ain't gonna lie, when I started out, man, I was desperate, man. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. It was just the phone rang and it was like, you run. You know what I mean? You didn't even ask questions. It was like, what? Okay. You know, hey, got a job, man. It's an hour and 15 minutes, but it'll be a cool ride. You know, let's go. You know, and then you go. And of course, as time went on, you know, the phone wasn't ringing that much, you know, well, then you would, you know, started realizing you get these phone calls that are like somebody right around the corner from your shop, you know, or, you know, and you're like, oh man, you're like, I'm like 2 hours away. And like, they're like, well, that's okay. I can probably just, I use this other guy and I can just, I've used him for years and I can call him. And you're like, dang, dude. Like if I would have just stayed at the shop today and I would have got that thing fixed in the truck or fixed the scissor lift or whatever, I could have done that service call right around the corner and probably made just as much money because even though I charged this guy or whatever, another 20, $30, you know, we got the one thing that none of us can predict is we have the liability of a deer running out in front of us, a tree falling in front of us, a whatever, you know, a car smashing into us. And I've seen it's gotten worse, you know what I mean? As time has gone on, it's not even gotten better. You know, I've seen people, you know how it is. Like even Michigan right now, we have this whole no phone. You're not even supposed to have it in your hand or anything. You know, I got people that I got a cigarette one, they got a McDonald's cup another, and they got their phone in their knee, they're driving. You know what I mean? And I'm like, holy moly. And you know, and it's like we kind of get punished. Um, you know, as being responsible, you know, because if we get in an accident, or something, right? Who's to say our insurance doesn't go up because of somebody else's doing, basically? You know what I mean? So us as, you know, I want to almost say like commercial drivers, we get punished. You know what I mean? We go through the schooling, we go through the class, we pay for the extra insurance, you know, and then you got these knuckleheads, the four wheelers as they call them. You got the four wheelers that are just doing whatever, right? They can be somewhat intoxicated too, and maybe not over the limit. Some of them are over the limit, and all it takes is for them to smash into you, and now you know you're fighting the insurance company, and they're saying, "Well, your trailer with your scissor lift wasn't covered. That's a separate policy." And you're going, "What?" And they're going, "Well, yeah, and it went through another vehicle, so now you're gonna have to pay." You know what I mean? There's a whole list of things. So there's definitely a lot of variables into them. That's for sure. That's for sure. I don't that's why I'm always like, you know, when I look at it and I go, sometimes if I was starting fresh, the vending machines, because you can set them up, you got to pay a commission. It's going to take a long time. It takes a long time just to get customers in the garage door business. Any business doing dock plates, you know, dock seals. I mean, it's hard, man. It's to get in their system, to get all the right numbers in place. It's super, super tough. And sometimes I look at it and I go, I don't know if it's like we don't even have subscriptions. You know what I mean? Like if we could get, you can do preventative maintenance, but if we could get like subscriptions, like on the garage door openers where like they have to pay, like you have to pay for a cell phone or, you know, something like that. I would almost think that's going to be almost a better thing to some degree because at least now you have a cash flow that's always trickling in, and everyone you touch and everyone you program, you know, they have to pay you a royalty. Now, trust me, as a consumer, I don't want that. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. I know they're getting somewhere, they're getting there a little bit with their, the Wi-Fi stuff. And I think LiftMaster has certain things, um, that if you want it, you got to pay for it. But for us, you know, as the end installers, you know, we're kind of, you know, because we deal with a lot of variables. We deal with a lot of like we don't know where when we go to the house typically unless they send you pictures. You know, there's nothing where you pull in and you're like, my gosh, you know, everybody showed up from school or something, and it's like the driveway's plugged, and so then it's like you got to walk. You go in there. Wow, I didn't take a picture of the car being in here. Can we get this out of here? Well, it don't run. We could try if you want to help me push it out. I don't know, push this thing out. It's got flat tires. You know, I'm not the mechanic. You know, I didn't really want to come here and, you know, and I'm on the clock, man. I know I told you 225, but geez, no, we're getting up to like 300. You know, why don't we just round it up to 400? You know, I see Richie says, uh, yearly maintenance subscription card dealerships. Yeah, it's kind of hard. I got a I got a couple family members that do like the body work and stuff. Um, could benefit from yearly maintenance yeah. So I mean, like you can do preventative maintenance. That's one thing. But like I said, I always look at it. It's like I always remember one guy. He was in the garage door business. And I always remember him telling me, he says you never get, the way he always put it was, you never get rewarded for doing a good job. And I take that with a little bit of grain of salt, or yeah, salt, because I look at it and I go, well, at least if I do a good job, I'm not going back there next week, right? Because of something. But what his point is that you do a good job and that's it. That door is in for, whatever, 5, 10, 15, 20 years with no problems. And yes, you do capture some money, and you do, get your money, hopefully. And there is a little caveat to that too, right? Because if you do commercial, one thing that never registered to me is that if you think about it, right, if you do commercial and they're billed out, 30, 60, 90 days, right, your money is actually being tied up. That money, let's say you're going to put it in the stock market. Maybe the stock market's doing good or something, or you invest it in something, right? They're tying your money up, and then they almost kind of got you by the gonads, you know what I mean? Where, in a nutshell, for 30 to 60 some days, they're basically using a product that they're not paying for. You know what I mean? And then they kind of maybe, oh, hey, this bill's starting to come up. Let's go out there and nitpick that. Make sure everything was working good. It's been working good, right, Johnny? Yeah, it's been working. And then we'll submit the bill, or the invoice, or the payment, I should say, not the bill. So it's kind of and then if they don't pay it on time, now you got more time invested. You got to track them down. It's just kind of a weird. It's a weird when you think about it. With residential, you normally get paid right away. But the commercial, like I said, it never dawned on me until that one time that one company was holding $10,000. And the guy told me, he goes, you know what they're doing? He goes, they got paid from the truck driver that hit it, their company. He goes, but they take that money. He says they invest it for the 30 days or whatever it was, 30, 60 days. And he says, that's how they do it. He says, they'll invest it. And then he says, they'll wait right to the end. Well, of course, the rate to the end for me was like December something. I forget what it was, December 22nd, 20th. I don't remember, somewhere right in there. And I'm like, crap, now we got this huge amount of money on the books, and I can't dump it fast enough. Like I don't need this on there. So that's just something you gotta think about, where, you think about it. If you do vending, right? You do vending, and then they're paying. I know some of them, which I won't give them, some of our toll areas or rest areas on the highway now will take a credit card. I stopped at one because the kid had to go to the bathroom, and I was thinking I'd be a nice dad, right? I'll grab my candy bar or something. They come out, whatever they want, and I looked at it and it says, all we accept is credit card. And I said, oh, nope. I said, you will not be getting my business then, because I am not purchasing something for $2 or $3 and putting my card in this machine that could be easily hacked right now. Or just the conversation of what is it going to say when it shows up for my wife to be like, did you buy something from CRC statewide food service? And I'm like, I don't know who that is. She's like, well, they charged it twice, or they charged it 3 times. And I'm like, those sons of biscuits, like, how am I going to go after, am I really going to go after $6 or $12 so they double charge me or triple charge me? But if you do the vending, most of them, right, are cash. So, and like I said, I'm sure it's not, I'd have to talk to my buddy a little bit. I should sit down with my buddy. I should talk to him. And, but I watch that guy go around, and he's always got a smile on his face. He never seems pressure. I'll see him in factories, right? I'll come in the door. And I'm all like, oh, where's the pooper? Man, I'm all dirty and black. And he's just sitting there. Oh, hey, Dave. How's it going? I'm like, holy crap, man, it's hotter than crap out there. He's like, oh, it's nice and air conditioned in here in the break room. Have a good day. Woo-hoo. I'm just like, now I know machines break, but he drives around in an unmarked vehicle when, well, I don't know if the cough syndrome affected him. I'm sure some of the factories, obviously the business slowed down, but, he just, he runs in it's like he doesn't do any advertising. that I know of. It's like he's got enough business all set up with these companies, and he just goes through and he just pow, 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 and even if you thought like, even if you're doing porta johns, right? You doing porta johns, right? You set them out there. Yeah, they're disgusting and everything else, right? But you build that over the time, the route density, and now you got every month or whatever, you got those paychecks coming in, coming in, coming in, coming in. If you're to do like storage units, um, things like that, it's just, you got to kind of, like I said, when I look at it, I go, man, that's why you got to, you can make your money. There's no doubt about it. You can make money. There's for sure. But it's just a one off and then it's done. You made your money, you got it. What are you going to do with it? You know what I mean? You're going to spend it. You're going to invest it. Um, you got to kind of pay attention what you do with it. Where I look at it and I was like, man, if I was young, you got to pay. There is fees and stuff, but boy, I would have jumped in the real estate for sure because it's bigger numbers. Um, you know, for me, roofing is another one it's bigger numbers. I mean, fencing is bigger numbers too. But sometimes you know how it is, bigger numbers, more headache. Sometimes it's nice to just go out and do a resi. It just all depends what your threshold is. I kind of almost reverted back. Um, I'd like to do, I like kind of the residential. It's kind of a one-off. Sometimes you get into the commercial and it's like everybody comes, they're like magnets to you. You know what I mean? Oh man, where you been? I haven't seen you in such a long time. Blah, 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 blah. And you're like, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm all alive. Hope everybody's doing good. Okay, let's continue on. Where like residential, you go in there, they don't know who you are. You know what I mean? They just kind of, you're gonna fix my door. It's out there. Go through the garage. Okay, nice dog. You stay there. Don't bite me. you know, you go and you fix it. It's light work for the most part. You're kind of in and out. You make somebody happy sometimes. It just all depends. Maybe get a cup of coffee. I had a lady do that to me one time. She gave me, she just wanted somebody to talk with. She was really super nice, and I wasn't super swamped, so I just like, what the heck, I'll sit here and chit chat with her for a minute or two, and got her door all fixed up. Cable, or I think the spring broke or the cable broke. The car was kind of trapped, but she at least was a mellow one. She wasn't like the one lady that when I did what was it? When I did the what do you call it? The Menards ideal door, the easy set. And I went way too far away. It was right about an hour-ish away from the shop. I went out there and I got there and they had the Menards easy set, right? And I went, crap. I went, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Do I convert all this? I don't know if I had all this stuff to convert it on my truck at the time. And I thought, you know what? It's going to be the Menards. I checked the Menards is like 5-10 minutes away. I thought, screw it. I'm just going to go to Menards. I'll get a spring for them. It'll be cheaper for them. I explained that to them, whatever. And the lady was like, fine, do whatever you got to do. And I don't think I quite knew, or if I did, it still happened because it seems like you got to really smash those drums tight. Otherwise those bearings will pop out on you. And I remember I went out there. It was already one of those jobs I was crunched for the day. Cause now of course I took this phone call, this service call. And now I'm getting, 2 or 3 more service calls local. And so I'm just trying to really rush through, I get it all slapped together. Everything's good. I oil it, give them a bill, and she pays it. And I go on my merry way. Well, it was like the next day or it was 2 days later. I can't remember. I get a phone call from this lady, and it was early in the morning. I think it was around like 6:00 in the morning, and I wasn't up yet. And I remember I got this phone call just of this lady screaming, just, oh my gosh, I got my door fixed and I need somebody out here right now. It's an emergency. And I'm just like, what is going on? And she's like, it's an emergency. She goes, I got to get my kid to school now. And I'm just like, I didn't know how to react. I was just like, oh my gosh, so I abruptly get up, right? I get dressed. I'm getting everything ready to go. It's like, I got to let my foreman guy know, hey man, I'm not going to be in this morning, get the guys off to whatever. And, so I remember I hauled, Heine out there. Right. So I get out there, boom, boom, knocking on the door. Well, I get the daughter opens the door and she's like, hi. And I'm like, oh, I mean, she's pretty young. I mean, she's, I don't know, 12, 13, 14. And I'm like, hey, well, the thing is, I can see her mom behind the door. And I'm like, this is awkward as H. You know what I mean? Like, so I guess you have a problem. She's like, yeah, I can show you. So I walk out and I said, so like, she's like, my mom's like so mad. She's like, you know, she won't even answer the door. And I'm like, okay. Like, you know, like I'm doing the best I can here. Right. I didn't intend this. And if it's that big of an emergency, I don't know what to tell you. Call 911, call an Uber, park a car outside. I mean, I don't know what's, you know, I feel bad, but I'm like, you know, this is not my intent. So I go in there and I realize the bearing has popped out and I'm kind of discouraged with myself a little bit because now, you know, I saved the customer money. It's costing me money now. Now I'm at a loss for already driving out here, my time, everything, right? So I get everything reset and I smash everything together. I don't know what went wrong, but I put everything back together, rewound it. I ran the door, you know, 3, 4, 5 times. Everything's running good. Nothing's making weird noises. And I think it might have been later that day or the next day. She called me. And I mean, she is just going livid, right? I think of another voicemail or something. And I thought, I'm done. I'm done. I do not need somebody like this in my like I like I don't even want to work for you. Like I almost basically I'll refund your money. You know what I mean? Like I don't even know. I don't know why this is happening. I already I did a favor for you. I shouldn't have done it. I should have done a spring conversion. And like I'm done because this lady's just freaking out. Well, then after 2 or 3 times or 2 times she called, right? The third time her husband calls. So I get a hold. I'm actually in touch with the husband, and he's like, "Hey, what's you know?" And I said, "Here's the thing, man." I said, I mean this is no disrespect. I said, but your wife, and I mean the guy, like he didn't even fight with me. I mean he was like, I get it. And I said, I'm sorry. I said, but you're gonna have to find somebody else. And he goes, I totally understand. And he hung up the phone. He said, you know, have a nice day. And I said, you too. And that was the end of it, man. And I just thought, whoa, man, was this a super duper nightmare? You know, way too far away. And I did them a favor. I saved them, you know, anywhere, I don't know, maybe $100 to $200 on their bill. And I get no respect. I don't want this to happen. You know, I'm not a knucklehead. I mean, something's going on here. But how many times I'm going to look at this where I just now I got to tell them, say, well, look, you got this money. I could give them a discount and still do it, but they're too far away. And the fact that I was able, you know, the guy, you know, because like I said, the guy could have easily said, you know, well, this is bull crap. And I would have said, I will send you a check. I will send you your money back. I am so sorry. Like I don't even know. Like I want nothing to do with this. Yeah, I think even the kid. See, Ryan says that poor kid. I think she even knew because she kind of when we walked out, she kind of looked at me. I was like, my mom's like so mad. Like I've been listening to it all morning. You know, like her screaming. And like I said, on that phone call, you know, just her, you know, I got an emergency. I need somebody here now. I mean, just full out screaming. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, if it's that big of an emergency, that's when that's what my gimmick was always going to be. You know, I was always going to be like, hi, you've reached Dave with Affordable Door and Gate. If this is an emergency, please hang up and call 911. That was always going to be my joke. I was literally going to make that on my voicemail because I got so sick of people calling me. And I think that's why to this day, I still, my phone's always on silent because I got so sick of people just, you know, I got a problem. I got an emergency. And I'm like, well, I do too. I got 2 more service calls I told people I promised to get to, and my one job didn't go right, and I still got to go to the vendor. And now you're calling me saying, you know, I got a problem. Yeah, okay, you know, or I got an emergency. Secretaries can help a lot with that. They do a great job. So Tony says billboards. Billboards, man. They do charge a lot for billboards. Um I was just wondering if you could like lease the land if you don't have to have the billboards, because billboards cost quite a bit too to build. I think I don't know. I thought I just heard a guy say they're like 10,000, 30,000. I might be off on my numbers, you know. Might be more. You know, the biggest thing is the city and all that kind of stuff. City and stuff. Although this man, they always screw you on stuff. That's why I kind of like the rentals. They're already built, and you just got to do a few things. You know, yes, there is some burdens in that, and you got to have inspections, but um, there's no perfect thing. There really isn't. It's just, to me, it's just what can you do that's kind of making you money behind the scenes, you know, where you got vending machines and they run third shift. Man, that thing's got first, second, third shift. They're buying sandwiches out of there. They're buying pop. They're buying, um, you know, because you can spend so much time. And I don't know. See, I got to ask my buddy. I should ask him because like, I know like one time somebody told me in the garage door business, they said, this guy goes, man, he goes, oh, it was one of my customers actually. He was for a big furniture company that we worked for. And I just remember him telling me one time, he goes, man, your job must be kind of sad. And I said, I was like, what do you mean by that? And he goes, well, he goes, you know, you build a relationship with somebody in the business or where you're, you know, your customer, you know, wherever you're working, like here. And his name was Paul. He was a really super cool dude. And he said, but you know, one day they retire, they quit, they get fired, they move up. And he says, now you got to build a whole nother relationship with somebody else. That's if they still even keep you or want to use you. And I was like, I was so green at the time, right? I was like, what- I don't have any customers. You're my only one, you know. So it never really dawned on me, and I have noticed that over the years because then he was one of the first ones that he wanted to work at the other plant. The other guy retired, and then they had like 3 buildings over there, big buildings, and he wanted to be closer to home. That's where his home was. So he moved over there. We got a new girl. Well, this is when the cough syndrome was going, or not cough syndrome. This was back in the oh 06, oh 07, oh 08 era. And you know, she was the queen bee and in charge now. Well, she was cutting the fat and we were the fat. So her worker started watching me and they started telling me, you know, I had to ride around with them on the scissor lift. And I remember this guy's asked me questions. And I told the guy one time, I said, what are you doing? I said, you take my job? He goes, no, they just want me to watch. And I said, are you being serious? I said, I got to break your knees. I said, what's going on? You know? And I knew we were kind of being like, I was seeing like hinges on doors and stuff like that, where before we would have done that. I was seeing like new hinges on certain doors. I was like, we didn't do that. And I was like, you know, but like they weren't ready enough yet to do springs on their own. And, so they they ended up they just finally weeded us out, you know what I mean? And they just had their maintenance guys when things got tight. So it was kind of just checking. So I had a squirrel moment. Ryan's that poor kid. It says right, Ryan, exactly. Mr. Look at I'll put Rich up. I can put him up. It says right there. Hey guys, hit the thumbs. I don't know what it's gonna do. Like I said, I don't get to see it on this end. This end's really weird with this software thing because like let me check if I jump on here. If it'll update. It says we're live. Okay, go there. I go there. See, like this thing doesn't show me how many, which is weird. But Bill was rich guy. Billboards are locked by 2 companies. Lamar. Oh, you got Lamar too over there, huh? Yep, that's who our big one over here is, Lamar. They there's a couple that try to get in, and like I know like now everything's kind of going digital, but you know the thing is I'm always looking for something too that's going to be a little bit more long term. Um, you know, kind of on the wealth side, because you know, I don't know, it's a crazy world, man, and the people, man, the workers. I mean, the workers just seem like they're going downhill. I mean, it's hard to find good ones. It's you know, things are bouncing around so much. They're changing. I was so bummed, man. I went into I had 2 nights. My kids are getting out of a certain sport, and so I think it was last week. It was last week. I had to take him up, whatever. And, I try to do a little, like, daddy daughter treat thing, So I thought I asked him, I said, hey, I said, are you hungry? And what do you want? Of course, I want McDonald's. Oh, Dad really don't want McDonald's, but whatever. So we go there, and I think it was the one daughter. It was for me and her. I had a couple I had a couple fish sandwiches. I think she had like 20-piece chicken nuggets, with a drink. It's like 20, was it $23? It's basically $24. I'm like, holy crap. I mean, I was like, I mean, I'm normally not a stinge when it comes to that stuff, and I'm like holding $20 and I'm like, this is over $20 for two people. Like, I got a kid, like we didn't order like a lot of, no extra like fries. And I'm like, holy crap. Well, they don't do the vending machines in there, or the fountain drinks. They got rid of that. Cause I told them, I said, well, I asked her, I said, hey, I said, do you want, what do you want for a drink? And she said, well, she kind of gives me that, like, well, what can I have type thing? And I'm like, well, you might as well just get a large. And, I knew I just wanted a small, but you don't have fountain drinks anymore. And I'm like, man, this stuff is just getting, it almost is funny how it makes you not want to, like, I don't know if it's just me, but I don't even want to really, I'm like so sick of the service that I don't even want to like go. I don't even want to go out. You know what I mean? Like I'm getting so sick of the service, the prices. It's like, part of me kind of goes, man, maybe we need a recession, kind of straighten things out a little bit. I don't know. I don't really want to go through that, but, dude, it's just crazy. It's just crazy how things are changing out there. And so there's just a lot of variables, and like I said, with the garage door stuff, you can always, if you can't be there, you can't get the money either. You know what I mean? If you can't service them, certain customers, if it's residential, you got your commercial. Some of them will, they understand. Luckily, sometimes they'll have big boys there that can like get doors down or can get something working for the time being until you can make it. But it's tough out there. It is a tough world. Let's see here. Oh, I'm gonna hit 2. Bam. There you go. So anywho, does anybody got any questions or anything? I wasn't really planning on staying on here. I was just doing tests with this background. I think somebody enjoys it. Maybe they miss the fire. I don't know. And you guys always know you can always email me, or something you can always text me. All that jazz. Show me those pictures. Like I said, Julio, I want a picture of that rig, man. I want a picture of that welding truck. I won't judge you. Tanner sent me his. The van works out good. Tony's. We got Tony's. He calls it the rust bucket. I think it's a money making machine. Honestly, I don't care if it's rusty or crusty. Does the job, man. As long as it works for you, it makes you money. That's the biggest thing. Because these vehicles are silly in price. Silly. I don't know if we're gonna switch out the ones, but man, they're expensive. They are expensive. Rich says need to do a beach background. Heck yeah, man. We're up here in the north, man. We're always dealing with this cold, crappy weather. I'm sitting there doing the math, when the propane was filled, and I'm like, what do they say? It's like, you basically have, it's 6 months of winter, or cold. And I'm like doing the math. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much it, and then I was trying to think about how much we used the air conditioner. And I was like, yeah, there was a few summers, but definitely not as much as what we use for a heater. Heater is, where I'm sure it's the opposite down south for those guys. But somewhere warm, I keep waiting for one of my guys down south, to invite me, or they need a job or need help with. I forget who is the one. I think it's Jason. The one that works out of the Chevy Spark. He works out of a Chevy Spark, dude. I'm so proud of that kid. And I don't think he ever got the job over in Detroit. He was bidding something. He wanted to know if I'd come over and help him. And he was like, and he started thinking about it. He's like, dude, that's like a 3-hour trip. And I was like, that's all right. I said, I'll come over and help you. I think he was doing some roll up doors or something like that. It was going to be kind of interesting because they were going to bring a trainer, I guess, in a sense too, since it was going to be his first rodeo with him. I thought that'd be pretty cool. He still might get it. It was something they bid a year ago, and now they're rebidding it. And sounds like the builder likes him, but we'll see how it goes on that one. It says, yeah, Lamar. But yeah. So anywho, I think, like I said, nobody's got any questions. Otherwise, you guys can always email me. Like I said, I was just jumping on here trying to get this thing to fire up on the banners. Use welcome. I want to see what this one does. Okay, it just says welcome. Just playing around on it a little bit. I'll go back to the comments and go. All right, guys. I know it's delayed too, so it's kind of weird because I can watch it on here and it's like a, I don't know how long it is. 3 seconds. Let me see where it's at. Because to me, the guys that work up here that do it, they actually have like a box truck. Then they have like a crane. I must be behind on this. I am way behind. Okay, I was just checking. Looks good though. Thanks, Rich. We'll talk to you later. See if I can turn this thing off. Get zapped.